What's good, y'all? I'm here with another video. I gotta go in a minute. I know my schedule has been inconsistent. I really do apologize, but I've been really busy. I've been kind of like doing some important stuff. So just bear with me, y'all. I'm gonna try to upload as much as I can. So that's why I'm getting this video out for y'all, so y'all can have something before I go have to do my situation. It's a video about wrestling gifts. Is how bad was WrestleMania 32 actually? I remember that WrestleMania being pretty boo-boo, pretty poop-a-loop. Yeah, and I feel like it wouldn't have been as bad if they would have just moved around some things. I know a lot of people was injured, but they could have still like made it work though. But let's just get into it.
WrestleMania 32 was one of the most confusing, underwhelming, unnecessarily long what the hell were they thinking WrestleManias of all time, and the worst part is, it all could have been avoided. When WrestleMania 31 went off the air in 2015, the moment the show was over, it was instantly cemented as one of the best WrestleManias of all time. It was the night where the company reassured the fans that even if the card wasn't looking the best, even if fans weren't too excited for a particular Mania, that against all odds, the WWE could still deliver and drop a classic. And in true wrestling fashion, it took just 1 year to erase all of that goodwill. WrestleMania 32 to this day, 8 years later, is one of the most infamous manias of all time. This was a show that genuinely seemed cursed, a show that felt like a higher power out there did not want to see succeed. This was supposed to be the biggest WrestleMania of all time. 100,000 people in AT&T Stadium were supposed to get magic.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't want to keep pausing, but the beginning of 2016, you would have thought that year was going to be absolutely garbage. But later on in the year, it got actually pretty solid. The brand split was cool and everything. You know, Raw did have its gripes, its problems. Charlotte, you know, being overpushed, Roman being overpushed. The Sasha Charlotte hot potato titles for no reason at all, when they could have just built other women on the roster. But you know, that's neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just thinking like. They really do call a good amount of WrestleMania as the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I guess, you know, great marketing. Even though the WrestleMania 40 card does not look bad, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't that good, you know. But I'm hoping it is, though. You know, I'm not really watching wrestling like that. I'm kind of casually watching it, but I'll watch WrestleMania, though.
Everyone remembers about this Mania is that this was the one where in the build up towards it, the entire main event scene got squad wiped. Sting got injured, Randy Orton got injured, Seth Rollins got injured, John Cena got injured, Bryan was out, Bray Wyatt wasn't even going to wrestle, and even The Rock, who was penciled down for this Mania all the way back in 2014, even he was ruled out in December. What was supposed to be the biggest Mania of all time became the most cursed Mania of all time. But when I think of this Mania, it's not the injuries that I think of, it's not the matches we missed out on, it's the fact that the company was still able to put together a pretty solid WrestleMania card despite all of the hiccups, and then they proceeded to do everything they could to make it flop. Mania 31 was the perfect example of doing whatever you could to make a Mania feel special. 32 on the other hand was a perfect example of doing whatever you could do to sabotage it. I went back and I watched this for the first time in 8 years, and to this day it is the most confusing Mania I've ever seen in my life. What this company did on this night was a travesty, and well, it's time to revisit it. It's time to take a look back at one of the most infamous Manias of all time. How bad was WrestleMania 32 really? Let's find out. The show begins and Cowboy Stadium is packed, pyro goes off, and there was a lot of excitement for this show, and what helped was that the first match was awesome. Just like the year before, a ladder match for the IC title opened up Mania, featuring the Mania debuts of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This match was 15 minutes of a human demolition derby, and honestly, I'm surprised that Kevin Owens was not paralyzed after this. That is an insane bump to take. But what made this match special wasn't the crazy bumps, obviously they were cool, but it was a decision to have Zack Ryder of all people win the IC title. This was such a surprise at the time and such an unexpected moment, but it was one that the people really loved, and it was a genuine feel-good wrestling moment. The man who had been a jobber for basically his whole career at this point, despite being really popular, won a title at Mania in a ladder match, got to jump off a ladder like he was Macho Man Randy Savage to do an elbow, celebrated with his dad in front of 100,000 people. It's really hard to find a better way to open up a Mania than this.
Yeah, I like that match.
He loses the title the next night on Raw.
Which was fucked up. That was fucked up.
Okay, weird, but at least he got his moment here, right? The momentum kept on going because the next match was the Mania debut of AJ Styles against Chris Jericho. AJ Styles finally on the grand stage was an amazing thing to see, especially as someone who grew up watching this man tear down the Impact Zone in front of like 900 people for years. It was great to see him on the WrestleMania stage, and this was basically a spotlight match for AJ, the newcomer who was going straight to the main event scene after this, getting a nice match at Mania to show off his skills against a legend, a veteran who is known for putting people over. And it was a really good match, really fun. AJ was super over, and Chris Jericho won.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Everyone going into this thought Styles was going to win this, and in theory he should have. He was the one who ended up main eventing 2 pay-per-views after this. He was looking to get his first signature pay-per-view win in the company, but he didn't. And this is the thing, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, right? It's fine, Jericho won, AJ lost, both were fine going forward. AJ wanted to become champion in no time, the loss didn't really hurt him, and AJ did pin Jericho the next night on Raw, because apparently Raw is more important than Mania. But the reason why this is important is because as the night goes on, as WrestleMania goes on, you're gonna see a stupid ass pattern forming, and it all begins here. But whatever, we had 2 great matches, so far so good, can't complain. The next match of the night was the New Day versus the League of Nations, and going into this match, the New Day was really popping off at this time. The New Day had just become faces, and every week we're getting cheered louder and louder. I mean, just look at their entrance. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. These guys were killing it, and they were taking on probably the most useless faction in wrestling history at that point. The most talented, useless faction of all time. I'm not even joking. Now, you would think that the good guys would walk into WrestleMania, the ones that everyone loves, the ones that the company spent thousands of dollars on for their entrance, would walk into WrestleMania and beat this useless faction because they actually have a future together, right? Nah, let's have the League of Nations. What the hell was this? League of Boredom beats the New Day for absolutely no reason whatsoever, leaving every single person watching confused. God forbid that the team that the people actually like, that actually has a future together, wins a match at WrestleMania, right? No, let's have this stupid faction that nobody cares about, let's have them win, just because then we can have legends come out and beat up the evil heels, which is fine, it is cool, but you're telling me you couldn't have had the New Day win and then get beat up by the heels after and do the same thing? No, and the stupidest thing all about all of this is the League of Nations, of course, lost the next night on Raw. And guess what happened? They kicked out one of their members. Yo, guys, why is everything happening on Monday Night Raw? Why is everything happening on the USA Network? What are we doing here then? Why couldn't the New Day have won this match? It doesn't make any sense. And it just gets even more confusing as the show goes on, because after this, it was then time for the most disappointing WrestleMania match of my life.
I'm not gonna lie, this genuinely pissed me off when I finally got to see WrestleMania 32, because I remember that build up, watching every week, and just seeing like they were building it up to be like a crazy match, when in reality they were doing all of that build up when they knew that Brock was not gonna do anything but do the fucking suplex F5. If he was just gonna do that, why even hype up the match to have a special spot when the most thing that they done was a fucking German suplex on some chairs? Like, you hyped it up with all these weapons and everything, thinking it's gonna be a crazy no DQ match, but it was just pretty much a regular Brock Lesnar match, bro. Like I don't care what people talk about, how Dean personality or how like his attitude or whatever. I don't want to hear none of that, bro, because they could have made that match work, and Brock just didn't want to do it. And I ain't fuck with that, bro.
Up until that point. Just like this night, this match is also infamous. It's Lesnar versus Ambrose in a street fight, and this was a match that was so hyped going into this. This was a match that I would have put my money on and be like, yeah, that's the match that's going to tear the house down. This was a match that probably half of the fan base thought this was their main event. You had a beast, you had a crazy man, you had no rules, and the match literally wrote itself. And you would think this would be epic, this would be special. Nah, instead we get a match that fans like to pretend never even happened. What was supposed to be this crazy special brawl to elevate Dean and for Brock to come out looking like a monster again ended up being so disappointing and just left everyone looking like an idiot. Brock looked like an idiot, Ambrose looked like an idiot, us the fans looked like idiots. The match was 13 minutes long. That's it, that's all I got, and it just felt like 10 minutes was Brock destroying Moxley, just throwing him around, which is fine, makes sense if the match is 20 minutes and the guy actually fights back. But no, they literally had the formula in their hands. We had seen Punk versus Lesnar just 3 years before this, and that blew all of us away. Just copy and paste the match, put it here, and everybody wins. But nah, instead, we got nothing, literally nothing special at all. Brock apparently didn't want to do anything, Dean was down for anything, and the higher-ups decided to just give him 13 minutes, get in, get out, go home. This match was a bamboozle of the highest form. This match was one of the few legit draws of the night. Lesnar in a street fight, that was going to get people to tune in, and you add in Ambrose, the crazy mother Canucker, it was guaranteed to be awesome. But nah, here's a few suplexes and absolutely zero drama. I wasn't asking for Moxley to use a chainsaw or something, but there was zero effort here, and if Lesnar didn't want to do anything, then the higher-ups are clowns for not at least getting a little bit more out of him. You're still his boss at the end of the day. But then again, they probably didn't care, and that's where this pattern comes to light. No matter what the match was, other than the opening match, something just did not feel right on this night. Whether it's AJ versus Jericho being good but having a deflating ending and winner, whether it's the New Day losing, whether it's Lesnar and Ambrose just being straight up disappointing, everything they were doing, something just felt off about it. Even the biggest highlight of the show match-wise, the match of the night, the generational match where 3 women tore the house down at Mania and really showed it was a new generation of women's wrestling, even that left the fans kind of deflated. Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte tore the house down, right? This was the first women's match on a main roster pay-per-view, let alone a WrestleMania, where I was like, okay, whoa, the game is changing. And you have 2 women who are really popular in Sasha and Becky, who have yet to be crowned on the main stage. The fans are begging for either one of them to win, but especially Sasha, who got a Snoop Dogg entrance and just came off as such a star. And after putting on such an amazing match, everybody wanted either one of them to win. What happens? Charlotte wins, LOL. Yo, what is this? Why are you guys doing this? She's already been...
Bro, the Charlotte pushes over her career have been so fucking like whatever, man. Like nobody really wanted to see her as much as they were pushing her to do. Like Charlotte isn't a bad wrestler, but it's like she had that Roman Reigns problem where she's just in your face too much with no like changes or whatever. It's like I don't know, man.
Champion on the main roster, right? She literally walked into Mania as the champion. She's gonna win like 1,500 more titles after this. Why couldn't anyone else win? The fans were literally begging for anyone but her. So even the match of the night, which is a borderline classic, even that has an ending that makes the crowd depressed in some way. They end the greatest women's match at Mania at that point with the same Ric Flair help Charlotte ending they had been doing for months. So yo, now you've had 4 matches in a row at WrestleMania where the heels have gone over. 3 of them had clear-cut fan favorites who the fans wanted to see win, and the other match, even though everyone knew Lesnar was winning, is one of the most disappointing WrestleMania matches ever. Fam, the curse was supposed to be for the build-up, not the actual show itself. Guys, you gotta remember, it's fake. You control the outcomes on the show. You don't need to make everyone depressed. We were already depressed with the build, but not every match the fans are just getting clapped, and then it hits you. This is the Vince McMahon WrestleMania Revenge Tour. After 2 years of having to switch up plans and matches and folding, from having Bryan win at WrestleMania 30, having Roman not being crowned last year, and many other decisions being changed due to the fans. So you know what? Charlotte's winning, New Day is losing, AJ Styles, we have big plans for you, but you still have that TNA Japanese stench on you, so you gotta lose your first big match, pal, before we can build you up. And oh, you guys wanted violence? You guys wanted Ambrose to go crazy? Nah, here's Brock beating him for 90% of the match, and you're gonna love it. And we already knew what was gonna go down in the main event. WrestleMania 32 legit became the Vince McMahon Revenge Tour. And it gets even more blatant. I bring you the Shane McMahon versus Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match. Okay, so I'll say this. I low-key will always have a soft spot for this match. The vibes here were simply immaculate. From the entrances to the hype of it being in a cell. The fact that Shane was back, you know, like the crowd was so into this, and I loved it so much. This was a match that easily could have been the main event, and nobody would have complained. And that says a lot, because this match had the stupidest storyline going into it. But whatever. I like this match. I look back at this match fondly. It was epic. Yeah, it's a little slow at times, but it worked. And of course, Shane did what everyone wanted him to do. He jumped off the top of the Hell in a Cell, YOLO, didn't care, why not, right? Not the side, not the Mickey Mouse stuff we always see. He legit jumped off the top of a Hell in a Cell like he's an action figure, like he's in a video game. He jumped off the top of the Hell in a Cell for the industry so his kids could love him, so his dad could love him again. And Taker at this point still felt like Taker. Yeah, he was old, but he still had something left in him, and he wasn't fully washed like how he would be a year later. Should have this been 30 minutes? Definitely not. But what annoys me is it's not really the length of the match. It's, you know, it's not how slow it was at times. It's the fact that Shane McMahon should have won this match. Now I know what you're gonna say. It's Taker at Mania. How can Shane win?
Well, he just lost. I guess they didn't. Well, that wouldn't have been 2 years in a row, but Shane lost, and then he still got like control some type of control in the company still. Wasn't that like what it was though, or something like that?
And after jumping off the cell and dying, listen, I don't know, and I don't care. I don't care if Shane jumped out of the airplane without a parachute when he was flying to Dallas for the show. His dead body still should have won. The storyline going into this was Shane was back to save the company from Vince and Steph, and if he won the match, he was going to be able to run Monday Night Raw. And Vince in the storyline used The Undertaker as a tool to destroy his own son and make sure that doesn't happen. So Taker was low-key being used for heel activities, and Shane was just so over. Shane was the more popular guy on that night, and it might sound crazy because, yeah, it was probably 50-50. I wouldn't say more over, but the fans were so happy to see Shane back, and the whole crowd was really behind him. And as much as the people loved Taker, the fans wanted to see Shane run Raw. They wanted him to win, and they wanted him to be the change, and it was clearly the right decision. And you know how I know it was the right decision?
But I'm glad he didn't run Raw though, because Raw was a shit show, and I feel like whatever, like no matter what, it was gonna be a shit show. So I'm glad that he ran SmackDown instead of Raw.
Decision, because even though he lost, Vince gave him power the very next night on Monday Night Raw. Which once again say, what are we doing here? Why is everything getting backtracked on Raw? Like, yo, I get it. It's the Undertaker WrestleMania. You still want to hold up a little bit of his reputation. You don't want to make him look like a total bum losing to Shane. But then why have this stipulation in the first place? Why tease the fans that, hey, you're finally going to be free of the authority after all these years? Shane's here to save you. Why do that and not deliver on it? Like, it's hard to put into words how tired people were of the authority, and this was a way out. This was perfect. But no, it's not happening. Sorry. Shane McMahon literally jumped off the top of the cell to get his dad to love him again, but Vince still couldn't let him win, even though he gave him what he wanted storyline-wise the next night anyway. I can't, like, what is this? What are these decisions? Even the fans right after this match happened were so confused. I was able to find a Reddit post about this match right after it ended, and all you can see in the comments are, I don't understand a single booking decision being made tonight. Literally, none of the build-up to Mania in most of these matches mattered. So are we not going to have any good outcomes this pay-per-view? And it's like, no, you're not. This is the Vince McMahon revenge tour, ladies and gentlemen. His own son isn't even safe. It's like, yo, if you don't want Shane to win, then okay, don't put that stipulation in. I have never seen a show get sabotaged like this in my life. I'm not saying reverse all the decisions, okay? You can keep some, but every single match other than the opener having a glaring flaw is wild. Fam, the New Day in a tag team match, it didn't even matter, couldn't get a win. Of course, everyone else was gonna get clapped. It was beyond cooked. Literally sabotaging the biggest show of the year because why not? Because I'm tired of being a pushover. But alright, whatever, it's done. Okay, all the matches are done. There's only one match left. It's been 3 hours and 30 minutes of this. Let's just wrap it up and on to the next one. And let's just move on. Nah, let's do the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. 3 hours and 30 minutes into the show. What the hell? What is wrong with you people? Why are we having these jobbers come out? It's been 3 hours and 30 minutes. You know, it's fine. Whatever, it's happening. Can't do anything about it. Maybe at least a fan favorite can win. Someone that can actually make us happy. You know, all night we've been having these winners that don't make us happy. Maybe someone can win. No, Baron Corbin's winning. Great. You know what? Thank you. Awesome. Amazing. Okay, I can't wait to tell my kids about the time I was really depressed watching wrestling, and then they had Baron Corbin win to cheer me up. I can't wait. I'm done. The show went on, and it was then time for the yearly WrestleMania Rock promo. Oh man. This promo, this segment, whatever the hell you want to call it, is so bittersweet for me. The Rock comes out almost 4 hours into the show and cuts a promo after using a flamethrower, after the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders do a routine, and it eventually ends up being a segment where the Wyatts come out. There's a 6-second match with Rowan because he's the only one that's not injured, and then Cena comes to save the day, you know, makes his appearance and whatever. And I'm like, I'm so 50-50 on this because a part of me loved this. I love the fact that I got to see Cena and the Rock team up and do their thing. It was fun, it was exciting, it was an unexpected treat. But the other part is, it was 4 hours into the show. What are you doing this 4 hours into a show? It was so draining. I almost fell asleep. And this literally came at a point where the fans were begging. They were begging for the show to be over soon. And if there wasn't a battle royal, you know, it would be fine. And if there wasn't a main event that nobody really wanted, it would be fine. But no, we had the battle royal. And after this, we had a match that we didn't want to see. And we're just sandwiched here, you know, watching The Rock talk about hillbillies and inbreds. But whatever, we survived, I survived, and it was finally time for the godforsaken main event. It was finally time for the show to end, and we could finally go home and just go to sleep and pretend like the show never happened. Wait, there's only one match left. Why is there still around 50 minutes left in this show? Just when you thought this Mania couldn't get more
Damn,
brain
this shit was
damage,
5
just when you
hours?
thought this Mania couldn't get more stupid, it was time for Triple H versus Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania, and they were gonna take up 40 plus minutes. This has to be on the Mount Rushmore of worst planned matches of all time. 4 hours into a Mania, let's have a 5-minute video package, let's have a 7-minute Triple H entrance which involves 2 minutes of Steph in a dominatrix outfit verbally assaulting us, another 5 minutes for Roman to come out to the ring, and then, okay, whatever, the Mania festivities are done, at least it's just time for the match now, right? So you would assume in a match that nobody really wants, that's taking place 4 hours into a show where everyone knows the ending of the match anyway, that you would plan the match so that both of you just go all out, right? You go crazy, don't give time for the crowd to rest, have the crowd going wild the whole time. Honestly, spam finishers at this point, just brawl everywhere. 10 to 13 minutes of fast-paced action where you make it so fun that the crowd just ends up like, you know what, that wasn't that bad, right? That makes sense. Fast-paced, quick action. No, let's have a 27-minute match filled with rest holds and limb targeting like
Both
it's
of them are slow
WCW in
wrestlers.
1988. But why are you doing this? Was the worst combination of a main event I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not even talking about Triple H. You have Vince, who is on his revenge tour, who's not letting anyone stop him from having Roman Reigns being crowned champion to end WrestleMania, combined with Triple H, who for some reason cannot read the room and thinks he's 1988 Ric Flair, ready to prove that he can have a great old school match with anyone, out here doing limb work 4.5 hours into a show. 27 minutes. Why the heck?
You know why it didn't work? Because in GM mode, they're both bruisers. You can't put two bruisers in a match together. You're not going to get a good match out of that. Triple H tells you that. So I don't know why he even did this. Roman is a bruiser in the game, and so is Triple H. You needed a specialist or a fighter like Dean. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's neither here nor there, you know.
How was this 27 minutes? Yo, why was this WrestleMania the longest WrestleMania of all time up until that point? Why was this the last match? Like, I get it, you want to cement Roman as champion, but why would you want your Mania to end with the fans booing and rejecting your main event winner, who is supposed to be a good guy? JBL is literally calling this match on commentary and ends the show saying, there's celebrations all over the world for Reigns, Mago. Listen, does this sound like a celebration to you?
They going the fuck
The
out.
delusion. The revenge tour was in full force. Yo, what was this show? What the hell was this show? To go from Mania 31 to this show and compare and contrast it, it's insane. It doesn't make any sense. And I know the show was cursed, right? I know everyone was injured. I said in the beginning, but what they did on this night was a travesty. The card that they managed to create for this Mania was a solid, fun card despite all the hiccups, despite all the injuries. People were still excited for this. People still wanted this. 100,000 people paid to watch this live, and this is how you repaid them? Every match, except for the first one, left you feeling some type of way. 5 hours of a senile old man sabotaging the biggest wrestling show of the year because he could. It is so sad too because this Mania is often talked about as one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, and I get it, it's 5 hours, it's boring, it's not a good show, right? But if they just changed a few things, right? And I'm not even talking about fantasy booking, I'm not talking about injuries or anything. If they just fixed a few things, like had some winners that the fans actually cared about, if they didn't have Roman and Triple H go on last for 27 minutes, just imagine how much better this Mania could have been. After all the injuries and hiccups, this Mania could have been a storybook ending. It would have been such a good story of, wow, look how the company dropped a banger against all odds. So many injuries, so many hiccups, so many catastrophes, but on WrestleMania night, they came together and they put on a classic. Instead we get the Vince McMahon WrestleMania Revenge Tour. This is a war crime. What was this show? There was no reason for this show to ever end up being one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. Absolutely zero reason. But it is. I hate the show even more now. Great. 8 years later, I hate the show even more than I did in 2016. I'm done. I don't want to talk about this anymore. In the comments down below, let me know, what are your memories of WrestleMania 32? What do you remember about this? Were you disappointed? Did you end up liking it? I get some people are going to be nostalgic about this. This might be your first WrestleMania. This might be from your childhood. I get that. But just logically look at this. There's no way with a straight face you can tell me that this was a good Mania. You can have a soft spot for it, but this was a travesty. But either way, let me know down below. Can't.
All right, that's the end of the video. Fun fact about this WrestleMania: I made a book about this WrestleMania when I was in school. I was in middle school, and I didn't even watch the show. I lied the whole book because we needed it was like a young Arthur situation. We had to write a book for a grade, and I lied. And he was talking about me watching his pay per view, and haven't even watched it yet. And I was just lying, saying, "Oh, this match was cool. This match was cool." Then when I actually watched it, I'm like, "Okay, this shit wasn't good. This wasn't good." But yeah, man, that was a good video. Make sure y'all like, subscribe. Shout out Wrestling Gifts. I seen a video of him rebooking this Wrestlemania, and it was a pretty good video. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get more videos out for y'all. I'm sorry y'all been really busy, but we're trying to get verified. We're trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get back consistent as much as I can. So stay with me now, and I'm out, man. Peace.